reviewable, but Gene Steratore yesterday said that the play in question, because there was a loss of possession with immediate contact, it was reviewable. What's your understanding of that, and what was your conversation like on the sidelines, whether or not that Mostert fumble was reviewable?
Not reviewable. Forward progress isn't reviewable.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next question, Chris Ryan, followed by Mike Reese.
Morning, Bill. How are you?
Good, Chris. How we doing?
Good. Just want to get your impressions overall of what you've seen from your defense this year, and do you feel that you're in a place right now where this is an elite type defense with their ability to take away football, get to the quarterback, and also kind of the base of stopping the run?
Right. Well, I mean, we can look back on things at some other point in time. Right now, the only thing that matters is Buffalo, so it doesn't matter what did or didn't happen some other week or series of weeks or anything else. We'll see what happens against Buffalo. So that's all that really matters. You know, we're in a one-game season and need to play well against, I mean, one of the most explosive offenses and certainly one of the top players in the league. I mean, they got several good players, but I mean, Allen's by himself is a, you know, tough matchup for any player, any defense. So we'll just really focus on that.
I want to ask you about Kyle Duggar as well. When you first started looking at him, was he one of those guys where you didn't necessarily know how he was going to fit, but there was such skill and athleticism that you figured out you're going to figure out a way for him to work?
No, I think it was pretty clear. You know, he played a lot of free safety in college. I mean, I understand what the level was, but he played a lot of free safety in college. Played some closer to the line of scrimmage. Then that's primarily what he did in the Senior Bowl. Those are the things he's done for us, as well as playing the kicking game. You know, he was a very good returner in college. We've seen him with the ball in his hands, so some of the runs that he's made, especially yesterday or even in practice, you see his running skills are good, and you know, he showed that yesterday when he had a chance to do it. So I think it's pretty much gone, you know, as we thought it would. With Kyle, it's really just, you know, the experience, and he's picked that up pretty quickly too. So
Thanks.
yeah, you're welcome.
Next question, Mike Reese, followed by Dakota Randall.
Bill, that's a big play by Hunter there at the end on the onside kick. What did you see on that, and why is he the guy you want in that situation?
Yeah, Hunter's done a good job for us there over the last 2 years. Again, we do that every week in practice. You know, kick it to somebody, not necessarily him, but he certainly gets his share of them, and then with the guys that we expect to recover, we always do extra kicks with them, depending on the type of kick that our opponent, we expect them to use or they've used in the past. So, yeah, good hands, good judgment, good ball skills, good decision maker. Sometimes the ball's near the sideline, and you know, that's part of it too. So, yeah, it was a big play for us. We can't underestimate that. That's a game-winning play right there.
We had talked earlier in the year about Jabril shortstopping it in one of those games. Was that a shortstop play or?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Those are the ones when you're the end guy, you got to be careful. If you let it go, the outside guy can get it, even though we're trying to block him, but he's still out there pretty wide. If you play it and it ricochets, then you know then the ball's in play. So it's a tough. But you know, the ball had some speed to it, but it wasn't kicked hard enough where you were sure it was just going to go straight out of bounds before anybody had a chance to get it. So, no, he made a real good play.
And then one other on special teams. On that first quarter, 4th and 6 on the punt rush, like what was it about that situation that you liked? Maybe I would say call it a rush versus set up a return, only because it looked like it was one-on-one against the Gunners to me, if I saw that right. So what was it about that situation? Did I, if I saw it right? But what was it about that situation that you like going rush there?
Yeah, that was we thought we had a good chance on it.
Next question, Dakota Randall, followed by Zach Cox.
Hey, Bill, I know we talked about him last week, but it looked like Christian Barmore was a real factor in the game yesterday when he was out there. What difference does it make having him in the lineup and feeling healthy?
Yep, another good front player. No, I thought Christian was active and caused some problems inside. It was good to have him as part of that, really that interior defensive line rotation. And we have a lot of good players in there, and they're all a little bit different. And I think that's always a problem for the offensive line when you see the player line up in the same spot, multiple times, but it's a different player with a different skill set. You really have to, make sure that you know who you're blocking and what you have to take away from certain players or what their strengths are compared to the guy who might have been in there that played before or, might have blocked previously. So being able to, mix those up. A lot of teams do that. Obviously, the Jets are, probably rotate their line more than anybody. But those are some of the problems that you create by doing that is just different matchups and just putting more pressure on the offense to recognize who the specific individual player is, not the X and O's, but the guy inside the uniform and how to handle him. But all that aside, I thought Christian was active and, he's got a lot of length inside there, and that's, different than a couple of the other players that, have other skill sets with not quite as much length.
And just a sort of a similar question on Jabril Peppers. Looked like he had a lot of big hits yesterday.
He did.
It's just, yeah.
Yep.
I just wonder what have you seen from him in his performance throughout the season, kind of as he's gotten further away from that injury?
Yeah, Jabril's active. His physical player's got good quickness, good playing strength. I mean, he's an impact hitter. I think he and Kyle and AP, all provide a real physical presence to the second level of the defense in terms of contact and whether it's jamming receivers or tackling and the ability to play in space. But he's been a productive player for us, and biggest thing for those guys is just managing the aggressiveness with let's call it over aggressiveness or maybe being out of position a little bit, and so it's just tempering that aggressiveness with patience and making sure you really get a good read on the play and before you go all out to make the play, make sure that you know exactly what it is that they're doing, and it's not something that looks like one thing but it turns out to be something else. So players like that's kind of the thing you really have to harp on just in general with those type of players. But he's done a good job for us, and it's good to have him on the field. He's really helped us in the kicking game as well as defensively.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome to go.
Next question, Zach Cox, followed by Mike Reese.
Morning, Bill. Excuse me. On Tay Hayes, what about him made him somebody that you wanted to work with in the first place? And what was the process like getting him up to speed in about 4 or 5 days to the point where he could play the role he did yesterday?
Well, the big thing was he was available. That's the big thing. There are a lot of players that maybe could have filled that role that just weren't available, but he was, and so that was fortunate for us. He came in and picked things up pretty quickly. We met with him early, when the players were off, and then so he was kind of prepared when we came back on Wednesday to start getting ready for Miami. But he's a smart kid. He's had some experience and played in games and had experience, maybe not specifically in our system, but in just general concepts that carried over from other things that he had done, just relating them to our terminology and our language, and then working together with the DBs. But I thought, our secondary, John and Miles did a great job with both Q and Tay to help them with the communication, with adjustments, with all the things that are being coached, but also from a player's point of view on just how to how they saw it and how they related those things to both of them, and course, Devin and Kyle, AP, Pep, those guys, when they're playing safety, kind of are responsible for that side of the field that they're on and coordinating that. And they did a good job there. But it was a good team effort by the coaching staff, veteran players, and the players themselves. Q, who's been here for a couple weeks, and then Tay, who just got here, of really putting in a lot of extra time and being ready for the game. And obviously, I'm glad we had both of them. We needed them, and they helped us.
Next question, Mike Reese.
You hold Tyreek and Jalen in totality 7 catches for 107 yards. A lot of times you'll say good team defense, when you're asked what contributed to that. I'm curious, just from the secondary standpoint, building off what you just answered with the shorthanded situation, specific to the secondary, what did they do well that was key to producing those results against 2 very explosive players?
Right. Yeah, you can throw Gesicki in there too, 2 for 18, and one of the ones he caught was a really good throw. It was tight coverage, but they got it in there. But yeah, I think we tried to hit them and jam them, but that's all tied into the pass rush. So they ended up throwing a lot of checkdowns. I think the leading receiver was the running back, and so I think if you can get the ball, out of Tyreek and Jalen's hands, that's probably better. Whoever else catches it's probably, generally speaking, better for us than when they catch it. So, they did a good job, like they always do, of moving those guys around. It's hard to tell exactly where they're going to be, and they mix in some motion, and even where they start, that's not necessarily where they're going to finish. So there becomes an awareness of him coming to the new side or starting on one side and running, crossing and over routes that get him to the other side of the formation or other side of the field. But I think the big thing was just the awareness of those guys and Gesicki. Certainly, those 3 guys are impact players in the passing game, and it's really the coaches and the players did a good job in preparing for them, and I would just say the awareness of where they are in each individual play, because when the play's called, you have no idea really whether they're apart, together, tight split, wide split, how many other guys are with them, so forth. So you really have to see each play separately for what it is, and you just can't zero in on one thing, especially as a play caller. You can't, this is where he's going to be, this is what we're going to do. They put him in the backfield. I mean, there's a lot of different locations that could involve different players, depending on where he is and what we have called. And I just thought they did a good job of just the awareness of those guys.
Nick, you want to jump in there for our last one?
You awake there, Stacy?
Apologies, guys. Yeah, good morning, Bill. Sorry to come in late, but just the fact that it is coming down to the final game of the season, what sort of environment are you anticipating in Buffalo with such a high-stakes matchup?
There's nothing we can do about Buffalo. We're just going to control what we can control, and it's a one-game season for us. That's the way we looked at last week, and that's the way we'll look at this week, and for each continuing week. Every week that we continue to play, it'll be a 1-week season. So pour everything we have into this one, and be ready for a team that we played fairly recently. That's clearly one of the top teams in the league. I mean, they're either going to be the number 1 seed or maybe number 2 seed. I don't know, whatever the seedings are, but they're up there pretty high. So they're a really good football team. They're well coached. Beat us 3 straight times. So, we have a ton of respect for them. We're going to have to play our best game. That's what we're going to get ready for. And whatever we get up there, we get. Again, we can't control that, but as we get closer to the game, we'll weather-wise, prepare for what we think it's going to be. But really, we're playing Buffalo. We've played them in all types of different conditions, and that's the team we got to beat, not the weather. The weather may or may not be a factor in the game. I don't know, but it'll ultimately come down to, how we play and coach against the Buffalo Bills.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you're welcome. Thanks, Nichols.
And it looks like the last question will be Dakota Randall.
Bill, you kind of touched on it before, but can you just talk about the job Mike Pellegrino's done this season? Obviously, you've had some rookie corners make big contributions this season, and then some guys new to the system went out and did a good job yesterday.
Yeah, Mike does a good job for us. Mike, works hard. He's had a lot of experience coaching a lot of different types of players out there, and bringing new players into the team, whether it be rookies or in this case players coming in pretty recently. But we used a lot of safeties in the game. 3 and 4 safeties, some 3 and 4 safety defenses, and those guys all meet together. So Brian and Mike meet with all the DBs together most of the time. So the communication lines between the safeties, which sometimes the safeties play linebacker roles as well. Again, when you get into 6 DBs and some of those personnel groupings. So it's really the communication of all that, everybody working together. But yeah, specifically to the corners and their techniques and their responsibilities, Mike's done a good job with them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.